Good to have you. It's still Good Morning Anambra, and today on Good Morning Anambra show we are going to look at suicide prevention, creating hope through deliberate actions. Suicide prevention, creating hope through deliberate actions. You know, before now, you hardly hear of suicide in this part of the world. And even when someone commits suicide, it's considered an abomination in this part of the world. But things have really changed over the years that today we hear suicide here and there. And in the studio this morning, okay, before the studio, I have my colleague here. Ajulichuko, how are you this morning?
I'm doing fine.
You look so good.
And you too. Good morning, all. I'm Ajulichuko Okagwe, and today we're going to be talking extensively on suicide. Please don't touch that dial.
All right, our guest in the studio, Dr. Kasmir Nnemeka, who is a clinical psychologist. Good to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. And also Dublin as the Public Relations Officer of Nigerian Psychological Association. The more we value psychology, the lesser our problems.
All right, you're welcome to the studio. Now, we also have the National and International Affairs Analyst, Vince Onyekwelo. Welcome to the studio, Vince.
Thanks for having me. Good morning, Anambra.
All right. Now, let me begin with you. I think, Vince, let's start from you. You know, can you give what actually can you say, can bring about suicide? Let's begin from there.
Thank you. Obviously, suicide, from its name, it's about when a man or a woman or a person actually successfully harms his or herself that leads to death. Obviously, there are different types where we say completed suicide doesn't mean that the suicide actually happened. But suicide is when it's actually successfully carried out. Because somebody can try to commit, by dying by poisoning. And they will drink poison, and for some kind of stroke of luck, the poison did not kill the person. We actually say the person actually completed suicide, though suicide did not happen. And what could be the cause? Obviously, we live in a world that is actually changing. Social distancing, quarantine, because of COVID and other ways of life, people kind of stay away from themselves. We have all this Android set, iPhone that keeps you isolated from the real world. So you don't have much social connectivity, you don't have much of social interaction, boredom, life's challenges, a broken relationship, a broken marriage, a poverty, financial challenges could lead to the death of a loved one, the death of a lover. There's so many things that could lead somebody becoming or thinking suicidal. Because when somebody starts thinking suicidal, they have this issue of self-pity. They need somebody to speak to, but there's nobody to interact with. And they start to become loners. They start to kind of stay away from social events. That's why we say that no matter how difficult life is, we need to have a reason to give people hope that tomorrow could be better. If you take away your life, honestly, from my own personal experience, you are the biggest loser. Because most times they will even cry, they will even mourn themselves before they kill themselves. They will weep, they will write long articles, long essays, so we even do video of themselves before they die. So it's very disrespectful, it's very shameful for you to mourn yourself, bury yourself before you die. And all these challenges can be resolved if the society...
Okay, hold it there, Vince. We'll still get to that. We'll still get to that in the course of our discussion this morning. You know, I've really had arguments with people concerning this issue of using our phones the way we are using it in this 21st century. That people are no longer, going to see their parents, going to see their friends, so to speak. They will tell you they've called on phone or they make video calls and what have you. And it has really bothered me a lot that I begin to see that suicide may increase in no distant time. So how do you see that? We are in 21st century, everything phone. People, I see God really created us to bond, Yes. So how do you see it? Don't you think that this is going to increase the rate of suicide in our society?
Okay, let me talk to you now from the psychological aspect of the whole thing.
Okay.
Our generation is sitting on the fence. What do I mean sitting on the fence? African culture and tradition have a laid down rules of the way they communicate, the way they talk, the way they interact, the way they feel people. Now, most of us are opportune to have parents who see beyond the brick wall and send us to learn the Western culture. Now, coming back to inculcate the Western culture, the problem we're having right now is, what are we going to believe? Are we going to believe the culture we already know and born into, or the one we imported? Let me not say adopted, because we have not done the proper adoption. When I'm talking about adoption, I talk about everything is properly streamlined, the market, straight up. But most of us sit on the fence because when issues happen wrong way, we tend to go to the other one that will favor us more. And when it's not the other way around, we tend to go to we're not Africans, we're not the Western world. Now, looking at it from this angle, let me draw a scenario from Ndebanye, what happened yesterday. A whole lot of people, just like my brother have said, if we keep counting it, every little thing leads to suicide. Suicide, on the other hand, is a lack of self-esteem. I'm tired. What am I living for? One thing leads to that. Hope. Now, the question is, hope has a two-way angle. Is it the one you have in yourself, or is it the one you place on another person to do it for you? We have a wonderful state. And we're doing something, and we're doing the best for ourselves. His Excellency is doing wonderfully well. But the question is, we have gone through a whole lot of rigors and stress and stages that what we need now is, we need to do what I call mental evaluation for reinstatement. A whole lot of us have so much believed in the abnorm and believing is the norm. So trying to do the norm today, a whole lot of people have going for that. Because they don't believe in what tomorrow will bring. A lot of us don't know what tomorrow is. We only believe in nakwa elineta. Azomazeta. September is the most critical month in every year as long as Nigeria is concerned. Kids are going back to school, is a new section. 80% of school fee, salaries, what's the word? House rents are paid and a whole lot of things. How do you manage it? Let me digress a little. Yesterday, something happened in Anambra, Oka to be precise. 4 people lost their keke. As I'm following up this morning, 2 of them have already taken sniper and were rescued, like my brother said, complete suicide. What are we saying? One of them came to the office and said, Doc, if you check on me, I'm hyperchest. My one way can easily and no she never egedanye. Or when am I going to tell him that I didn't do well? So talking about by action, you said this what? Action that is what? Intentional. What are the intentional action? Most of us resort to our Android phones because we've lost communication with the world. We didn't choose to lose communication with our environment, but the environment placed it so. So what are we looking at?
Now, do we see it as increasing the rate of suicide or not?
It is basically the major factor for suicide because so many of them look back and say, I'm hopeless. Imagine coming back and telling your wife, who you promised that in Atata you give him like 2 or 3K to start something, and you tell him that your keke is lost. Your wife is giving you pressure. Your 2-year-old daughter, 4 or son is telling you, Daddy, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I don't have my auntie should pay for my paper. And for most of us who are somehow weak, we are looking up to the government to come and give us manna from heaven.
That's exactly what happened in Edo State.
You get what I'm saying?
Last 2 weeks.
We are looking at manna will come from heaven. And it's not coming from heaven because we're not in the Old Testament. What are we going to do? I'm a failure. I'm a disappointment. I disappointed the state. I disappointed the environment. I disappointed my family. I disappointed the government. What am I living for? The hope is there. death covered it? How many of us have the guts to take out time and clean? If there is a tiny ray of hope, even if they are there, you're looking at it, but you can't see it because you already have positioned yourself that you are what? A failure.
And so, Doctor, based on what you're saying so far, I'm believing that you have the expertise and experience to pick out someone that is suicidal.
Of course.
You understand? So, in your own estimation and your experience, how do you help people from not tilting into the act of wanting to commit suicide?
Communication, the most important thing.
That is what you address. Or what platform can you use to address this?
Look at it from this angle.
Okay.
When we talk about communication, I've had interaction with people that simply we call the low lives, but actually they are the movers of the society. The keke drivers, the shuttle drivers, the Okada drivers, the artisans and the 1 naira, 2 naira market sellers, okay? How do you communicate with them? For starters, there has been a failure. Where is that failure coming from? That failure coming from the communication gap between the so-called ESCOs. I had an interaction because yesterday I had a bit of the action. I walked from immigration to my office in Anambra. I walked. I can't remember the last time I did that. So they were like, now, it's not, if you look at this thing, there is a communication gap. What are you sending to the government on my behalf? Am I a part of the game you're sending? Are you sending it for... Look at it again. Bring it down to the family. There are some certain things a husband will tell a wife, and the wife will get out of her way to do a whole lot of things because she still does what? Believe. And don't forget that belief comes after doubt. We've lost the trust. Trust is the basic engine that leads to suicide. If there is a proper...
The lack of the trust.
The lack of trust, which is the byproduct of lack of proper communication and psychological evaluation.
All right, you hold it there. We'll be back to continue from there. It's Good Morning Anambra, looking at suicide prevention, creating hope through deliberate actions. And in the studio, I have Dr. Kasmia Nnemeka, a clinical psychologist, and Vince Onyekwelo, national and international affairs analyst. Let's take a break here to bring you some, excerpts from people on the street. We'll be right back after now. Please join us again.
It has to come from the family. Peer pressure being number one thing. So I think most of the times family members tend to put their kids and words under pressure, like, okay, Ikenna is this. Can't you see Chikenna? You, what are you doing here? So when you put such child under such condition, and he goes out of his way to be like Ikenna and he can't, at the end of the day he might end up committing suicide because he has not lived up to that expectation. So I think it has to come from the family.
Governments have to take measures on those things. You know, people commit suicide maybe because of frustration, things they have encountered in life, which is the primary aims of this frustration is caused by government. So I think government should look into individual, not just government budgets, but individual particularly. Go into a society, check the less privileged, check how they are faring, their economy, and all those things. You know, when someone sees help from somewhere, it will be relieved of thinking. But if you sit down from January to December without help from any place, he may think of just setting himself or herself off from the life. So I think government has hands on it.
Being a brother's keeper, that is having a personal relationship with, being just knowing what their neighbor is suffering, giving your neighbor opportunity or a hope for a living. Most people that commit suicide is because they have come to the end of the war as a result of stress. But just for all the society need to tell them, no matter what they have committed, even if they have no money, they have nothing whatsoever, we need to make them see life beyond, or hope beyond their circumstances, hope beyond what they are passing through. knowing full that whatever they are passing through is but a time. It's in the Bible. If you check the Bible, usually use the word in the process of time. When time is processed, things will change. So if they have that confidence that man born of a woman is full of troubles and God delivers him from them all, they will realize that they will realize there is a hope. What brings about suicide is hopelessness. No need. They don't feel like they can survive again. They don't feel like there's anything again. They feel that they are hated. Show them love.
The country should be able to provide our needs. That's number one, because if you are comfortable, you will not think about committing suicide. You understand? If things are going well with you, you understand, you won't want to commit suicide. Then secondly, we have to be brother's keeper. You understand? With time to time, you ask your neighbor, how are you? How are you feeling? You might even knock at the person's door, maybe 2 or 3 days you've not seen him. You have to check on them. Do you understand? I think with that, it can reduce. Then on the other hand, what I think could reduce it is the communication. You understand? Because there are some people that can't talk, but when you communicate, you show them love. I think with love, everything will be okay, huh?
First of all, we are clamoring for change in leadership in the country. That is where it hinges most. Because bad leadership makes citizens, individuals, youngsters to lose their aspirations. What people think they would be, any human being has something that he is dreaming to be. Then the policies, failures in leadership will make you not to realize anything. Before you know it, you'll find out you are gradually getting frustrated, from frustration to depression, from depression. If you now find out that your parents that labored, for instance, so much, banking so much hope on you, and that at the time you will be giving to them, you are still sourcing from them. It's enough for somebody to commit suicide. A lot of factors are responsible for that. But the foremost factor responsible is the leadership problem and crisis in Nigeria.
You're welcome back to the studio. We've seen what people are saying concerning suicide prevention, creating hope through deliberate actions. That's actually what we are looking at. And Ajula, I don't know.
Yeah. Chukwuemeka was of the opinion that sometimes peer pressure could lead one into suicide. You understand? Bullying as a result of that also. And clinical psychologists, what can you say about peer pressure, bullying, as in from kids, you understand, in school? Can it be a motivational factor for a child that doesn't even know his left from right to commit suicide?
Now let's look at it. Let's take 3 steps backwards. I'm going to talk psychology all the way.
Okay.
In developmental psychology, that is the basic relationship between the family or the parent and the child. What did you tell your child about him or her? How did you present your child to the world? What did you tell your child about her? Let me give you a simple story. I have a staff. She did something very awesome, and I said, "Sweetheart, you're wonderful. I love you for this." She turned and said, "Sir, are you talking to me?" I said, "Yes, I'm talking to you. You did well." He said, "I've never had that 24 years of my life. I've lived with my parents." When you as a father don't value your own product, it doesn't matter who, even if it comes from His Excellency. The peer pressure I know is the devaluation of your own spring, that you want to handpick ideas and you work with people that always make him feel you're already complexed from home. So no matter what I do, I'm just trying to patch you up, even when they're the best. It happens to the academia, it can happen to their way of life, it happens to their beauty. That is why you see 60-75% of girls who fall victim of rape, killed or something, they have a family dysfunction. I'm not valued, so let me make a name for myself. Bringing up to what we're talking about now, How can I get entangled? How can I get married to a woman, to a man who doesn't value me, but just using me because it's a time thing? I'm 28, 35, I'm a man, I need to have a wife. I'm 24, 26, I'm 20, 26, 27, 30, but an FF. Let me just get a man. There was no communication. There was no agreement. There was no understanding. There was no proper movement of the Kwebai. It's not going to work. So this thing is just a byproduct of existing, not even living.
Okay, now, Vince, let me come to you. There's this report that a total of 350 suicides were identified between January 2010 and December 2019. And there could be other unreported cases. And we know that there's this saying that prevention is always better than cure. What do you think could be done to prevent suicide?
Number one, just to help that statistics, it's actually believed that within every 40, 45 seconds, a person commits suicide somewhere around us. And if you look at that 40, 45 seconds, just little time. So even before I finish my tangent, somebody has committed suicide. So how can you prevent suicide? First of all, it's for the people that will commit suicide to understand that it is wrong. No matter the kind of trying to impress yourself that this is the right thing to do. It is wrong to commit suicide. It's actually a shame to commit suicide. It means that you're actually a coward. It means that you cannot face the challenges of life. Now listen, the beauty of life is about challenges. A life that has no challenge is not worth living. There's a proverb we say that the sweet mango tree has always been plucked. If you're not sweet enough as a mango tree, nobody will pluck you. Even with full fruit, nobody will touch you. So you that wants to commit suicide, are thinking suicide, reach out to somebody. We have 3 ethos. As a former police officer in the UK, we have those 3 ethos. We say we need to reach in, we need to encourage understanding, and we need to share experiences. Reaching is when you notice that somebody is avoiding people, avoiding coming out. Usually somebody who is open-minded, that happy, that comes out to chat, is now becoming isolated. Reach in. Don't be scared to ask somebody a question. Are you thinking of killing yourself? Don't be worried to ask that question. Ask that question. Because at times it breaks the bubble. The person who is the victim doesn't know what he or she is passing through. They will feel like, I don't want to be here anymore. Ask that question. Reach in. Step into their space. Ask that question. Number 2, encourage understanding. Hear them out. Understand their problems. Don't be scared that, I'm not a professional. I'm not a psychologist to help. Because the person may be a poor artisan who has never seen a psychologist in his or her life before, and don't even have the ways of meeting one. You can reach in. You can encourage understanding. Number 3, share experiences. Tell them how you face your own challenges. It could be marital challenge, it could be financial challenge, it could be any kind of challenge. Share and tell them how you were able to pull yourself out of it. That's why we say, in Nigeria, let's talk about Anambra, for example. We are losing some of our values that help to minimize suicide in the past.
I was even coming to ask whether we should bring it back, because then, like I said in the introduction, it was considered a taboo. And anybody that died as a result of suicide is taken to Ajofia, that evil forest, to be buried. And the family, if you want to get married, they will ask you, find out whether the family or the father, what killed the father, whether he died as a result of suicide. People will not go there to marry. So I don't know if that could be included in what should be done to prevent.
It is. The stigma, for example, of somebody who is Onuri or somebody who Umuya committed suicide, it's a big stigma. Even the children will suffer from that stigma for a long time. But now we have learned to hide those.
Cover up.
We now cover up. So if a child wants to marry that her father committed suicide, there's a lot of cover up. So it's an advantage to us. People don't even get to know. But on the other side, the issue of age grades. Back in the days, I know Obo. And if you belong to an age grade, when you have problems, you can run to your age grade for them to advise you, for them to even raise money for you. Now we don't have age grades. And I'm thinking that we need to go back to that age grade system because it has wonderful jobs it does.
Beautiful values.
Beautiful values it adds. People now form social clubs or join fraternities, which also can help in its own way, because a lot of people think that everything about fraternity is negative. No. Not everything about fraternity is negative. There's a lot of positive side of fraternities. So far, the vision and the mission statement is not about violence and killings. There's a lot of social advantage of fraternities. And I think you have to know about these issues. As a cop, if we have reason that somebody wants to commit suicide, it's not about carrying firearms. The police, the social welfare system helps to understand communities. But here we don't value social welfare system. Our police officers and army officers only carry firearms. So there is no communication, there is no interaction with people. Look at the burial of Queen of England. You will not see one army officer carrying firearm. It was 100% police doing their job. Everybody, Navy, Royal, Air Force, Royal Army, we are all no arms. But they were here to communicate, interact, smile, get a picture shot from the people. So we need to bring our social welfare back to help people have a sense of belonging. And in conclusion, there's a statement by William Shakespeare. He said, some people were born great. Some people achieve greatness by themselves, while some had greatness entrusted upon them. Look at in Nigeria. Some people were born poor. Some people achieved poverty by themselves, while some people had poverty entrusted upon them by the system. So greatness in England, poverty in Nigeria, because number one, people are truly born poor in Nigeria without any hope. That's why young boys want to do HK. They want to stop their business in Onitsha to go and learn how to do Yahoo called HK. Somebody will leave their business in Onitsha and want to go into HK because they want money. Somebody, because they were born poor, they believe that the system, the society, the community, the government is to be blamed for their poverty. And at times you have to. Because look at sports, a way to take away that suicidal tendency to go and watch football, watch badminton, watch basketball, even play. Every 4 p.m. as youth, we go to play basketball. There's nothing like that. You're on your own. Sports festival, Anambra State last time came almost last in sports festival. So things like sports that helps for social interaction. For the youth is no longer there. The church that's supposed to be pivotal is only thinking about money. Who is bringing money for the harvest? Who is going to be on the front desk? Who is going to raise money for general overseer? It's all about money. They don't even encourage, except some still few churches that still encourage people.
When we are talking about suicide now, boiling down what you're talking about, or rather emphasizing on, is social interaction. So now, if I, within my own enclave, you understand, if I begin to social interact with people around me, and you do the same, and he does the same, even though he is the more experienced person in this field, don't you think with that we can really curb down this thing? Well, at the same time, you still can't take it because we need to socialize too on the internet too.
Yes.
When you socialize on the internet, can it help prevent someone from wanting to, commit suicide too?
There are platforms on the internet whereby if you having suicidal tendencies, you can go there and ask questions. You can go there and interact with people and ask questions. How am I going to pull myself out of this? For example, the keke person that the keke got seized yesterday, how come there's no proper insurance system that insure keke? Whereby if there's a damage or a destruction, the insurance policy can come to the help of the keke drivers. Is it difficult to have an insurance policy? But we do have one, but you just pay money to the insurance policy and there's no hope of you getting any claim if that damage happens. But there is an insurance that we pay into. So how can a government allow us to pay to a car motor insurance? Every year we pay 3,000 naira to motor insurance, but you don't have any hope of getting any claim if that insured incident does occur. So we need to actually get a regulatory system to help people to reduce the burden individuals and families are bearing. Somebody killed himself in Edo State, a lecturer, because for the past 6 months, 7 months, he has not been paid. Pressure from the wife saying, you cannot take care of me, you cannot take care of...
You're not man enough.
You're not man enough. You that killed yourself, I'll blame you. The wife that pushed you across the counter, I blame her. But you have the last choice to say, I am not going to hurt or harm myself. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to endure this. This season will pass away. It seems like, before the day breaks up, around 5 o'clock, 5:30, it looks so dark. But within 45 minutes, day comes. Hang in there. Never allow life challenges to make you to go and commit suicide. It's disgraceful. You be the poorest of the poor in the land of the dead because you took your own life.
All right, quickly in a minute, in 1 minute. Yes, you need to as a clinical psychologist, let us know what we can do to prevent suicide.
To answer that question, what is the term? You said by deliberate action.
Yes.
Now the question is, we have found ourselves in a circle where we are so dehumanized that we don't even know our own value. On the 10th of this month, that's like 14 days ago or thereabout, we did a program in Prof. Kennedy Library. Nigerian Psychological Association, in conjunction with at Peace Center Clinics and Professor Andrew Zamanipe, offered 100 free psychological counseling 14 days down the line. Nobody has called. I said, come to ABS, go to Kennedy or come to the office and nobody appeared. You now see that the stigmatization or the not accepting and acceptance of the environment we find ourselves in is our biggest problem. Culture, religion, thus says the Lord. Just like my brother has said. It's not about that. The question is, who do you really think you are? My parents failed me is not the reason why I should fail myself. My society has failed doesn't mean I'm going to fail myself. My wife has failed me is not a major reason why I should fail myself. I failed myself because I've chosen to be a failure before I embarked on that journey. We should wake up and tell ourselves, it's my life. Every other thing comes through by me. I'm not because the society has said, because the environment has said. How do you want us to help them? We don't have the cash to throw out. What the society needs is a total rehabilitation mentally. Restructural mentally. Let me tell you the truth. If these our roads are properly taken care of, every 45 seconds or every 1 minute, there'll be an accident. Because like, the car say one way, fear, but if you're mentally rehabilitated and reinstated into the society where you feel doesn't work, everything comes together.
All right, we can go on and on, but I think that's the much time could allow us take on the program this morning. Suicide prevention, creating hope through deliberate actions. Like Vince said, hang in there. In about 10, 15, 20 minutes, light will come. There will always be light at the end of the tunnel. And we'd like to appreciate you so much for being here. Dr. Kasmir Nemeka, thank you.
Before we conclude,
no.
The offer is still there. We are trying. It's a deliberate action.
Okay.
The offer.
Okay. In case you need to meet doctor, you can get to ABS and we get you through to him.
A lot of professionals are there.
Okay.
Give them the helpline.
All right. We also
of losing people every day.
All right.
That doesn't make sense.
We also thank you so much, the National and International Affairs Analyst, Vince Onyakwelo. Thanks for your time this morning. And from my colleague.
Well, it's been a lovely session. Thank you all guys for watching and paying attention. And please, no matter what the challenge is, don't give up. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Anambra, calling it a day for you today. Thank you.
All right, I'm Nonya Nwokoye. Let's do this again on Monday. Bye for now.